Hi everyone and welcome back. I hope that you're feeling really great today. I'm so happy to be coming to you with a quick video about the new moon in Capricorn on January 12th and 13th, depending on your time zone. I am feeling really comfortable and really happy with the energies coming in. It's really, really wonderful to be settling back into a very normal Saturnian and Capricorn-like theme for myself. The end of the year is always a really crazy rush with the new year coming on and doing end of the year content and preparing year ahead content as well. For those of you who've been watching for a while, I do also have a survey for this YouTube channel. It's a quick 10-question survey that takes 3 minutes tops, and it's anonymous, and it's a great way to suggest content and to talk about your experience of this YouTube channel so I can have the best idea of what to create in 2021. I want to make sure that the content is relevant and very much in alignment with you all who have subscribed to the channel, because that's what it's all about. So that survey will be the first link in the description box below. It's super quick, anonymous, and all of that. And anyway, let's get into this topic. It feels so good, actually, because thinking contextually and thinking about what we've been through over the last year with Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto, retrograde and direct and conjunct in Capricorn, this new moon in Capricorn is really perfectly timed, as the stars tend to be, because Jupiter and Saturn are now in Aquarius and they are not anymore activating through the energy of Capricorn. And by the new moon in Aquarius next month, it will be totally like final, and that shift will really be cemented into place. You know, this new moon in Capricorn to me feels to show us the good aspects of Capricorn that we don't need to forget. So most of us came into contact with both good and bad aspects of Capricorn energy over the last year. You know, the good sides being about strength, security, finding out what you're made of, creating strong boundaries in your life, strong foundations, fixing financial issues, working to overcome, and gaining endurance, okay? Those being the positive aspects. And then the more negative aspects, you know, becoming too concerned with social status, becoming too concerned with hierarchy, becoming very grudge holding, becoming workaholic tendencies, working too hard, poverty consciousness, also overspending, shopaholic tendencies. All of those are some of the more negative aspects of Capricorn. So I think all of us have kind of been through a maze of looking at all those things and seeing all of those possibilities and navigating the fallout of choices based in those areas. So as you moved through December and into January, there should have been a really stark, sudden thought like, whoa, some of this is way overfocused. Some of this is way overcooked. Some of these things are way too grand also, or way too meek. Like the axis of meekness and grandiosity is on the Cancer Capricorn axis. A lot of people think of things like that with fire signs, you know, Leo, Aries, Sagittarius, very grand. Actually, Capricorn is capable of being the most grand sign, as it is the tallest 10th house energy. So all of us were also working with, you know, how big do I want to take these goals? How small are some of these things, these relationships? How far do I want to push a relationship? Is this a marriage, or does this need to be a friendship? There were lots of small conflicts like that where you weren't really, you know, deciding whether or not you would connect with a person, or whether you would or would not do this career. It's more so like, how much do you want to focus it, and how much space do you want it to fill up in your life? So moving through December, by the solstice, Jupiter and Saturn coming together in Aquarius, now through that, it's not even so much a contemplation anymore. It's so fixed, you know, it changed from cardinal to fixed energy. So a lot of us have really made choices and sort of made our bed. And it's not to say that we can't make changes, because Aquarius always offers a bit of a pivot point. And this new moon in Capricorn is going to really illuminate work patterns. So like what we can work for, what goals are achievable, what things we can really strive for. But it's also going to kind of feel like out of time in a way too. There's an issue with this new moon in Capricorn that I'm just feeling intuitively that makes us kind of feel out of time with what we're doing, and make us kind of feel like, okay, have the commitments that I've made in my life, will those suit what I now want to do? Will they be a drawback for that? I'm feeling a lot of conflict around what we've devoted most of our time to versus what we now see as potential. And that's really, I think, indicative of the shift between Capricorn and Aquarius, because it's not quite final yet. I think it's going to be the new moon in Aquarius that really finalizes it. We are in the middle of this still. You can still feel that Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto energy and the Jupiter, Saturn, and Aquarius energy from both. It's like a staining, molding middle zone that we're in during this new moon, during this period of middle January. We're also in Capricorn season, so there's still, the sun and the moon are both reactivating and bringing up a reemergence of that. So yeah, anything that was an issue in 2020 will come up to be resolved. So resolution is really important with this new moon. It's not what we usually think of with new moons. We usually think of new goals, new objectives, breath of new life. This one's different though. It's in Capricorn and it's reactivating a transit that just passed through. So this is a last chance to resolve a long-running issue, a long-running problem, okay? And if things aren't resolved after this new moon, and especially after the cycle of this new moon, so 30 days after this new moon, before new moon in Aquarius, it really stretches out till then. If we can't use the energy of this new moon in Capricorn to take the next month and resolve any issues, resolve any identity qualms, it's not so easy to resolve these things, I know. But there has to at least be progress, in that sort of cardinal way. I feel if we want to feel comforted in any way by the fixed energy of Aquarius, the less changeable, less adaptable, kind of oxymoronic, ironic energy of Aquarius, where yes, it is about alchemy, but it's also about steadiness and security as a fixed sign. So it's a very mind-bending energy for us all, as we all can probably feel. To not lose my point, though, the next 30 days from January 12th to February 12th is going to be a resolution opportunity if you couldn't do it over the last year. Okay, so any struggle with not being able to identify the problem or feeling like there's an impending doom or feeling like there's something you haven't seen is probably just psychological at this point. I feel with this new moon in Capricorn, if something's an issue, it will make itself apparent and physical. So there will be like papers in the mail or communication or something raised to your attention that is actually a problem if there is a problem. Now, we have Neptune doing something very interesting right now as well, making interesting synergy. And I know that we're not thinking so heavily about Neptune and Pisces because it's not doing anything crazy, but I feel that it's getting so late and so into this last decan of Pisces that also our minds are very blurry, okay? Our minds are kind of like foggy. It's not easy to see things very well. So with that in mind, it seems to me that many people know that a change is oncoming, but they can't quite figure out how to work with it, and they feel really uncomfortable by a sort of middle zone horizon that is not apparent but clear to the feeling of them. It's very uncomfortable for a lot of people, and the new moon in Capricorn for some people is going to bring up a kind of something enduring process, a series of like months where there's like a lot of energy output and a lot of timing and stuff. But it's not bad. It helps you to figure things out. Another great thing for this new moon in Capricorn is going to be, starting new commitments. Okay, so starting a new degree program, starting a new job, starting a new relationship even would not be bad. I mean, a relationship that you started around this time could be like a relationship for life because it would be pulling or honing in on that last year's energy without actually having Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto there, yet having the power of that. So the relationships or anything that you start here, okay, because we have new moon energy. Anything that you start here, and right now, has the power of Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn, but they're not there. It's the new moon invoking that energy by passing through those degrees while they're so close. Even though they're out of sign now, they're in Aquarius, Jupiter, and Saturn. And to me, I think that there's going to be a very interesting group of people who start a new phase right now, and it's contextual to them in that sort of Capricorn way. Maybe they have experience with this. Maybe you're considering going back into a career that you burned out of before, or going back into a study that you've had experience with before in a new way. And this to me feels to be one of the most powerful things you can do right now, and expect that to be an incredible feat. Expect that to also be very challenging and very, scheduled and very regimented and very, enduring, as Capricorn is, and with probably quite a bit of pressure as well, as you would by starting a new project or starting on a new power line, okay, like many of us will at this time. What that means is you're also going to be pulling the Jupiter, Saturn, Pluto phase of 2020 with you into the future, which is not good or bad. That's not a bad thing, but it is something heavy. It is a lot of weight to carry, and you can kind of pick and choose how much of that you want and how much you do, and that's going to be reflected in your time schedule and how much of your time each day is going to this new thing that you're taking on then. But I kind of think that almost everybody is doing something new. I want you to comment below if you could. I kind of want to get an idea of how many people are starting something new, whether that be that new job or that new degree or that new location. And do you have context with that also? Because I feel like on one hand, it's not brand new. This is also very possible that you could start a relationship with an ex again. I see that very clearly for many people, especially if this is transiting your 7th house or something. Or to take on an old job that you used to have before, doing an old type of work that you used to do, getting classic with things, getting back to basics, actually. That feels really good. So uncomplicating things. Okay, let's talk about that for a second. Something that I found to be really prevalent in 2020 with Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn was basically people taking on more than they could, or compensating for the sort of societal pain by taking on really huge things and making things bigger than they had to be. So taking that really, really tiny business and turning it into that big corporation when it just needs to be a little business, taking, I don't know, that very beautiful friendship that you have and proposing marriage, taking a very slight problem in a marriage and instead of counseling, choosing divorce. I felt that things were really pushed to this type of, kind of theatrical place, which taught me something new about Capricorn energy that I had never seen before. And this was really interesting to me because there was nothing else in the sky other than maybe like Neptune and Pisces, which does play more of a role than I think we give it credit for. There was something very theatrical about 2020, actually, and very dramatic, okay? And only in certain ways. I found that a lot of people really intensified and dramatized some of the things that they were going through. Kind of like the whole woe is me thing. And yes, of course there were struggles, and there were people who went through like legitimately crazy struggles. I'm not saying that nobody did. In fact, there were a lot of people who did. But what I'm saying is that there were also some people who were really trying to escape a feeling of well-being too that they could have very easily had by putting many things in front of themselves, by turning this tiny business into that big corporation, by trying to take this relationship and turn it into a marriage, by trying to get into somebody's will, or trying to sell property, or trying to do some sort of crazy egotistical thing to compensate with the stillness that 2020 was really meant to give us and heal us through. Okay? And the people who caught on to that, the people who were able to just kind of be still in 2020, who were able to just take their time, rest more, sleep more, work. Yes, I mean, Capricorn is the sign of work in a way that Virgo is not. It's like a long-term efforts, Capricorn. So those people who were able to, thinking of their long-term, thinking of their bigger story, work and prepare for that while resting, while being still, and while not making any power plays, okay, especially during that retrograde phase, those are the people who are coming into 2021 with this great boon, this great, leg up, this great level up. And I've got to say, the people who really dramatized things and took things to a theatrical level, now there's a lot to unpackage with that. And there are a lot of decisions to make that never had to ever be made, okay? Lots of ceremonial types of formality decision-making process now because of choosing to make something a lot bigger than it ever had to be. And, now we have to pay for that wedding, essentially. now we have to pay all those corporate fees. Now we have to have that, that lawyer, that accountant, and the sort of like benefits of being like a big business now are eclipsed by new types of formalities. It's that type of thing that we can really easily be in now too. And also I would like to spotlight, this is kind of even in a different direction, the worries that you go through every day, or the things that are on your mind, or the heaviness that you feel. This new moon in Capricorn should really help to lighten things up, okay? So losing sleep over a tax bill, losing sleep, and again, I'm thinking Capricorn stuff, losing sleep over a 401k, losing sleep over having to spend savings, anything that's losing sleep over like material should really start to lighten up with this new moon. And it would be really great, I think, if you are worried about anything material, to really try to maybe ritualize or create mantras that help you to lighten that up a little bit. Like, okay, it's 2020 and there are economic problems, or it's 2021 now, isn't it? It's 2021 and there are economic problems, and I'm not the only one. And, if there's kind of a different way that I'm having to energize my material, I bet there's a lot of people who are going through this, and I bet there's going to be a lot of options, and I bet that there's a contingency. It's a great time to make contingency plans, to, look at other opportunities without, going crazy about it and stuff like that. And as you start to kind of lighten this up, and as you start to kind of pull out of a very like focused, concentrated sort of cesspool of problems that I feel that 2020 is like, was never meant to be, but became the like overarching theme. Okay. Suddenly we're getting into that 11th house energy, which changes things so much. And we are probably not going to feel this ultimately until the new moon in Aquarius about a month from now. So again, you have time still. You have a lot of time to get out of poor thinking modes, or to get out of, overcomplicating or aggrandizing things, because all of a sudden in February, as we get into this incredible huge Aquarius stellium, I'm going to be making a video about this sort of like grand Aquarius stellium new wave energy that's coming in right in at the beginning of Aquarius season. Do hit that subscribe button if you're new, and turn on those bell notifications, because that video is going to be a big one. Can't wait for those messages. I'm like really pumped and stoked to make that video. We're by that time going to be getting very much more zoomed out with things. Capricorn kind of zoomed things in, and now we're zooming out. If you can imagine yourself thinking of like your location, being like, I would like to live in this town, or I would like to live in that town. It's not going to be about that anymore. We're really zoomed out. We're looking at the globe from further away now. We're seeing more of a geographical idea, or more of a connotation that is much further away, which is going to really help a lot of people to heal up these like worrisome things they've been through. Like, whoa, I was really worried about, the cost of selling this house, but now as I'm really zooming out, and now as I'm really like seeing things from a lot further away, there's a sort of an insignificance about that, isn't there? There's kind of something that really doesn't matter. And I could have maybe been making myself sick over something that never even mattered. And that in itself is very healing, but it can also make people very upset at themselves. And then some people won't even allow themselves that luxury of healing that way, where they kind of get into that, sphere of being there like, yeah, I could make this a lot easier on myself, but like, I don't think that I want to have that spare time of emptiness. I think the best luxury of being human is the ability, for some, not all humans have this. You're very lucky if you're a human that has the opportunity to choose what they're filling their time with. Okay, so for those of us who do have the luxury of choosing how to fill our time, we don't really need to be complaining about it, okay? Yes, there are hard things. Like, we can then choose to fill our time with, that abusive relationship, or that really ugly career, or that really, gaudy business, or whatever. That is possible too, Free will is an interesting thing. But with that, especially if you've had the free will to choose things, understand also the ability now to pivot, or the ability now to really choose. Aquarius is so eccentric and so different that if anything, like in your business or anything in your career or relationship or life, or all these things that we talk about, health even, you can really now zoom out and adjust, okay? It's not hard to transfigure it, to change it, to rebrand it, to whether this again is like a business or your life or your appearance or your focus or whatever, it's so flexible and adaptable right now, having the energy of Capricorn and Aquarius. And it's so powerful, the choices that we make that begin us now, the choices that we make that push us into this new momentum. It's really, really beautiful. Okay. And again, like I said, there's going to be a lot of people who see that opportunity and don't trust themselves to work well with it. So they don't do it, and they prolong this kind of, constant, what if this goes wrong? What if I get challenged in that way? Am I prepared for this? There is an over-challenged thought pattern for a lot of people, where you were caught off guard once before, and now you think too much about being caught off guard as in an attempt to never be caught off guard again. Major control issues coming out of that Capricorn stellium. I mean, can we get snaps for the control issues of a year where we had Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto in Capricorn? And like a Scorpio season at the same time and all that stuff, the control, the idea of control, the archetype of control, archetypes of limitations, ideas of things going wrong, or woe is me, or heaviness, or existential quandaries. Those things are like now for life for some people. Like some people had experiences in 2020 that have changed the entire momentum of their life, just when it comes to how they think of things like control and what the theme of control plays in their decision-making process. Here is a point with this new moon in Capricorn, though, where you can rewire that, because this new moon in Capricorn is so healthy. And we're going to see healthy versions of Capricorn energy on January 12th. We're going to see healthy versions of working energy, of endurance, of control, healthy versions of control, okay? People really maybe having more time, people really maybe being able to make more decisions themselves. Individuals really perhaps during this small period of time having even more creative control over what they're doing, interestingly. And that's beautiful, and it needs to be more. And of course, we would all love for that to just be always. But now it's even more than usual, where you have a type of like creative control over the long terms. All right. So just keep that in mind as you're making certain decisions. And my concluding sentiment is going to be this what do I want to say? Crossroads, things like that, decisions, not being able to decide one way or another, worrying that you'll make the wrong decision, worrying that if you make the wrong decision, there's going to be some kind of like collapse. Zoom out of that, okay, and think about the true significance of what you're trying to decide over. Is this question or this, confusion or conflict, is this really worth so much of your time and your sleep? Does this really even matter? Okay, is this really even the content of what you're doing, like these decision-making processes that you're caught up in? I really feel that this is like the focus for a lot of people. And is there maybe just a more collective overarching theme that is present regardless of what decision you make, so it really does not need that much, effort put into it? But that is really the main thing for this time. And it's really beautiful. It's actually, this new moon is going to really help a lot of people to be more confident, to have more energy, to be more productive. This is an incredible time for assembly. Okay, what do I mean? Putting things together, assembly of new furniture, having new furniture. Okay, so this is interesting. It'll just be a little bit of a personal testimonial. I got a new desk, and it has really transformed my productivity. And I also moved my desk, and it's no longer up against a wall. And this also dramatically changed my psychology. And I'm not even like concerned now about doing like my schedule and stuff. It's really crazy how just small things like that I never considered. And people around me would tell me, take your desk off your wall. It really makes a difference. And I'm like, it really can't make that big of a difference. In my mind, this is what I'm thinking. I'm like, I'll do it eventually. I really can't imagine that makes that big of a difference. It's like that, things like that might have way more of an impact on your future than these these decisions that you're like going over and over again in your mind that you really think are the decisive ones. Okay. That's been my experience. And I think that, as you're assembling things, I had this desk that I put together was like, quite a challenge. It was pretty tough. But it is now, really serving a great purpose. It's a really good time to buy like new equipment or new assembling, things that you have to put together, things that help your productivity, things that gives some type of long-term purpose, if that's appropriate for you. I think that that's also supported with new moon in Capricorn, especially machinery or anything that ups productivity. But so that's very positive, and it's like that kind of mirrors in your mind as well. So even if you're not like spending money on new things, because we don't want to go crazy with this sort of consumer nightmare either, which is also kind of possible. Try to think about that in your own mind, though. Even if it's like maybe just rearranging the furniture that you have, that could be really positive. And thinking about how that mirrors in your mind, like, okay, my desk was up against a wall before, and maybe that meant that my productivity was kind of up against a wall too, or my efforts were kind of right up against something really hard and making it harder, It's crazy how little things like that really have more of an impact than we think. And with that, like just thinking of it in your mind too, like, are there a lot of thoughts that are just slamming up against a wall? I've seen that so much, hitting your head up against a wall, like that has been the energy over the last few months for so many people. And now the wall is not there anymore. We might still think it is, and we might still kind of act like it is, but it's not there anymore. And with it not being there, there's more to see, there's more to take in, there's more to understand, but there's also not the same boundary either. So we are a little bit more vulnerable. We're getting a little bit more vulnerable too. So do keep that in mind as well. And really good to work with the immune system, really good to vitamin C, citrus, all that stuff to keep a healthy immune system, because I would predict also that there'll be a little bit more of contagions possibly as well, especially in the northern hemisphere where it's winter. The colder temperatures usually just biologically make that more possible. So do work on building things up now, and becoming less vulnerable in ways you don't need to be vulnerable will be great now too. Anyway, everyone, thank you so much. I hope that you enjoyed this video. It was beautiful. I feel like incredible talking right now, because it's like things are so much simpler all of a sudden. December is always a crazy month here on YouTube, and I'm so happy to be in January. Thank you so much. If you're new, if you're seeing this video for the first time ever, hit that red subscribe button, please. We're so close to getting to an incredible milestone, and that would just mean the absolute world to me. So much love and so much light as we're moving into this incredible Aquarian new wave. For those of you who are subscribed, thank you so much. Comment below. Let me know how you liked the video. Hit that like button. Check out my Patreon page. I'll link that below. And the survey. Yes, we have a survey, so you can, talk about what you might like to see in the future, and let me know how 2020 was for you on this channel. Thank you so much, everyone. It's all linked below. Have a great new moon in Capricorn. Much love. Bye.